Welcome, everyone, to the Monday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal, and needless to say, it has been a crazy season to say the least, and now it is reaching its climax in these final few weeks. And I want to talk about the latest craziness in the first segment this morning, and it kind of relates to a tweet that Alden Gonzalez of ESPN had a few days ago. And the theme of this season, Alden summed it up really well. Just when I think a team is good, it's bad. Just when I think a team is bad, it's good. This is baseball in 2025. That post by Alden kind of inspired what I wrote today in The Athletic, a column about 15 teams and basically telling fans of each of those teams, listen, if you think you have it bad, it could be worse because every team seems to be going through a phase or has gone through a phase in which they have their fans pulling their hair out, exasperated, frustrated, infuriated with the way their teams are playing. And there's the column. You see it right there. It's up right now. And let's start today with the NL West because there is a division that we all thought was going to be this incredible powerhouse. And it really isn't turning out quite that way. The team that is ruining baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers. On Saturday, what happened to the Los Angeles Dodgers? They were no-hit by the last place Orioles for 8 2/3 innings. They had a win probability at that point of 99.5%, a 3-0 lead, and they lost the game. And this was obviously the extreme example of essentially a season-long pattern for the Dodgers, but one that really since early July has been a huge issue. They are 9 games under 500 since July 3rd. 9 games under. The operating premise of this team all season has seemed to be, we'll turn it on at the right time. Well, guess what? They've already cost themselves a bye in the postseason, most likely. They're not getting one. The Brewers and the Phillies are in commanding position for that bye. Now, granted, anything can happen. The deficit to the Phillies from the Dodgers is 4.5 games. It's not over, but it's not looking good. And there's Sarah Langs with her classic "we" on what happened Saturday night. The Dodgers have a bullpen that leads the major leagues in blown saves. Now, I know that's not an entirely telling metric, but it's a pretty good one when it comes to the Dodgers. They had another one, of course, Saturday. They went 1-5 last week, in Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Pittsburgh and Baltimore, two last place teams. Granted, the Orioles have played a lot better in the last 3 months, but they're still in last place. They're still not the team that they thought they would be. So that's the Dodgers in the NL West. And then there are the Padres. Now, the Padres, we all saluted them for winning the trade deadline, and they did that. A.J. Preller, their general manager, seemed to fill every one of their needs. I loved what he did. Most fans did as well, just because he was so aggressive and did so much. Well, since the deadline, what are the Padres? 18-16, just 2 games over 500, and it took 2 wins over Colorado at Coors Field this weekend to get to 2 games over 500. Their offense is enigmatic. As I wrote today, their starting pitching is problematic. Their bullpen is down Jason Adam now, still one of the best bullpens in baseball. And they're likely going to need to overtake the Dodgers in the National League West, where they trail by 1 game, to avoid playing a road series in the wild card round. And that's important for the Padres because they draw such energy from their fans at home. So that's just the NL West where kind of wacky things are going on. And it's not just in the NL West where we have this kind of commotion. The AL wildcard race. 2 weeks ago, it wasn't a race at all. I believe on this show, or one of the others, I proclaimed that, you know what, season's kind of a bummer. We already know who the 12 playoff teams are. And at that point, it appeared pretty much set. Well, the Seattle Mariners have opened this thing wide open again. Now let's look at the AL wildcard standings right here. You see the Yankees and Red Sox, they're in commanding position. Good week for the Yankees, 4-2 against 2 first-place teams, the Astros and Blue Jays. You see the Red Sox, they had kind of a difficult series in Arizona, but they're in good shape, even without Roman Anthony as far as the standings are concerned. And then the Mariners. The Mariners, a team that has missed the postseason by 1 game each of the last 2 years. Here they are, 10-1 after the deadline, actually starting July 31st. So 10-1 from that point. They then go into a 6-15 rut. 6-15. And that opened this thing wide open, as I said before, for those other teams in the mix. Let's look at those standings one more time, and I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about. The Mariners, yes, they still lead the wild card by a game and a half over the Rangers, 2 over the Royals, 2.5 over the Guardians. It's a cushion. It's somewhat of a commanding cushion given how much time is remaining in the season, but it's not a total cushion. And yes, they won 2 games in Atlanta, 2 routes to go back home now and hopefully get their acts together. But this is a race that, again, should not have been a race. Now, this week we've got Kansas City and Cleveland. That's a big series in the wild card picture, of course. And Kansas City also has one more series against the Mariners. That's obviously going to be a big series, and I believe that is next week in Kansas City. So the Royals kind of have to hold serve over the next 6 games on the road. And then, actually, I believe they're on the road. Don't quote me on that. But then they have Seattle, and that will be, if they are still right where they need to be, a very telling series for them. Texas, I saw them this weekend. They're an intriguing team because they're without many of their top players. Nathan Eovaldi, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia. They've got a bunch of guys, I wouldn't call them cast-off, more journeyman types who are helping them win right now. Cody Freeman and Michael Hellman. It's kind of an amazing run that they're on, but good for them. They've done a really good job just kind of staying in this race after an incredibly difficult and frustrating season because their offense has underperformed. So those are the 2 races that perhaps are most intriguing right now. And then we have another development in baseball. This is a development we always seem to have. And that is, of course, the injuries that continue to take place. Season's still going. We're going to still have injuries. And I just mentioned Seager. That's one of them. Emergency appendectomy on August 28th. They're expecting him back, maybe even back next week. So that would be a huge boost for them. They're also expecting Adolis Garcia to come back. Semien and Eovaldi, the chances of them returning are remote, at least according to club officials. But on Sunday, we had 2 other significant injuries. Now, we're waiting to hear just on the extent of them. Trey Turner with the Phillies suffered a right hamstring strain running up the first base line. He's seeing a doctor today. Trey Turner has kind of gone under the radar this year. You see Jason Stark's tweet right there. He is 4th in the National League, 4th in the major leagues in Fangraph's version of WAR. He's 4th behind only Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, and Bobby Witt Jr. He's had an amazing year. The Phillies obviously need him. The only good news here is if he indeed has a hamstring injury and maybe it's a couple of weeks, that's okay. The Phillies are in commanding position in the NL East over the Mets. They're in commanding position for a bye. They should be okay if he needs nearly a month before the playoffs to get ready. So that's Trey Turner. Daniel Palencia, the Cubs closer. He has a right shoulder issue. Came out of the game yesterday with tightness in that right shoulder. Now, that's an issue for the Cubs, obviously. He's been really good for them. They also have injury questions. Minor stuff, it seems, with Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong. Clearly, they need to be healthy to be the kind of team that they want to be. And as I wrote about them today, for all that they have disappointed in some ways after that great first half, still have the 3rd best record in the National League. They've still had a really good regular season, but they need their players, obviously. And then Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt Jr., back spasms, missed the last 2 games for the Kansas City Royals. Now, we all know the meaning of Bobby Witt Jr. to that franchise. He is their best player. He's one of the best all-around players in the sport. And for them to somehow steal this wild card from Seattle, they're going to need Bobby Witt Jr. healthy. There's not much doubt about that. I don't believe I am going too far out on a limb there. All right, we got plenty else to talk about. I want to take a break here. We're going to come back next with the Inside Dish. I'm going to talk about my memories of Davey Johnson.
We are longtime fans of Omaha Steaks, and I am drooling looking at the website right now, featuring USDA certified tender steaks, and also during their Red Hot Sale event going on right now this fall, 50% off site-wide. at omahasteaks.com. Plus, for the FT fam, an extra $35 off with promo code FOUL at checkout. You've been a big fan of Omaha Steaks since your early days as a pro.
Brings me back to my low A-ball days, because we used to survive on this. We get a big order at the beginning of the year, cook them on our little electric grill, can of peas, some mac and cheese. That was dinner for 4. We survived off Omaha Steaks. It still has a special place in my heart.
You thrived.
Well,
you guys ate like kings.
Yeah.
That's special. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, promo code FOUL at checkout. 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code FOUL at checkout. See site for details. Dig in.
All right, you see it right there. Time now for the Inside Dish, the part of the show where I talk about maybe a story I've written, a trend in the game, something else going on. But this week, as I mentioned at the end of the first segment, I'd like to talk about my memories of Davey Johnson, who passed away on Saturday. Davey had a long, rich baseball life. As a player, and I don't know that a lot of fans realize this, fans today, he was really good. 4-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove winner at second base, 2-time World Series champion for the Baltimore Orioles, 1966 and 1970. And as a manager, he is best known as the leader of the swashbuckling 1986 World Series champion New York Mets. And that was the team that defined him, and he defined them as well. Now, he is a guy who was really smart. He was doing analytics 30 years before anyone had even heard of analytics. He took a computer course at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore when he was playing for the Orioles and created formulas where he would do this to create the optimal batting orders for the Orioles. Now, Earl Weaver didn't listen to him, but Davey was ahead of his time. Now, I covered only a small slice of his career. When he was manager of the Orioles in 1996 and 97, I was a sports columnist for the Baltimore Sun, a general columnist. So I covered mostly baseball because the Ravens had just started in Baltimore at that time, but also college basketball and football and whatever else. But again, the focus was mostly baseball. Now, Davey would go on to manage the Dodgers and Nationals after that. But those 2 years, when he was with the Orioles, they made the playoffs both years. They were among the most memorable years of my career, and it was because, in large part, he was the manager. He was a total character. He was a different guy. And the thing that struck me most about Davey from the start, compared to other managers I had covered with the Orioles, and by that time, it had been 10 years and I had covered quite a few managers, he had a confidence about him that was really unparalleled. And I don't see it in many managers today the way I saw it in him. Some would call it cocky, but he was really confident. Now, I told this story on Fox on Saturday during our broadcast when we had our memories of Davey. And the story goes back to Chicago, April of 1997, I believe. Freezing night at the new Comiskey, whatever it's called now, Guaranteed Rate Field. And at the end of the game, Davey Johnson is in his office. He's still shivering. He had made a decision that night. I can't remember exactly the details, but the Orioles had kind of a closer controversy going on. Armando Benitez, Randy Myers. And that night, Davey chose the one we thought he wouldn't choose as writers. So we shuffle into his office at the end of the game. As I said, he's still shivering. And he opens the conversation, not with, hey, you guys got any questions or just ask away. He kind of gives us a little lecture. And he says, hey, I know you guys. And when they say you guys, and there are women too involved, but it's always you guys. You guys means the writers. And it's not said usually very nicely. You guys were up there in the box, second guessing my you-know-what. And I don't care. I'm the manager. I'm the one making all the money, and I do whatever I darn please. That was Davey. And by then, well, I guess we had some questions, but really, what could you ask at that point? That was Davey Johnson. And again, he was not afraid of anyone. And the Orioles during those 2 years, 96 and 97, in my estimation, since I started covering the sport in 1987, they were never bigger than they were then in terms of where they were in the sport, where they placed themselves in the sport. They had some outstanding players, of course, Ripken, Palmeiro, Alomar. They had a Hall of Fame general manager in Pat Gillick. Camden Yards was full every night. It was alive. And again, he was a big part of that. If you might remember, he was named that manager of the year in 1997. He was feuding with Peter Angelos. He resigned the day he was named manager of the year. On the conference call with the writers, he said, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. Anybody know anywhere I can go?" It was hilarious. So that's part of what I remember about Davey. But just from a personal level, covering him. Now, as I said, he wasn't afraid of anyone. He'd take on anyone. Didn't really think anything of it. He had a nickname for me, but it wasn't even a nickname because I wasn't sure he knew my name. And what he called me was Mike. And I never could figure out why. And Joe Strauss, the late Joe Strauss, who covered the team with me in 97, he was the beat writer. Buster Olney was the beat writer in 96. Joe delighted in this, that he would call me Mike. And I could never figure out why. The only thing I could think of was that I was the columnist in town along with John Eisenberg. We had only one paper at that point. And Davey probably thought I was trying to be like Mike Lupica in New York, which I couldn't be. There was only one Mike Lupica, but I thought that was his way of jabbing me. Now, I never asked him, "Hey, why are you calling me Mike?" I just kind of let him do it, but I knew he knew my name because one day when he was upset with me, slammed his desk and said, "Damn it, Kenny." So I kind of figured out he knew what was going on. Now, in a bigger sense, with regard to the team, as I said, there were no sacred cows. And at that point, Cal Ripken in 1996 was a 35-year-old shortstop. Now, we didn't have defensive metrics then really to the level that we have now, if at all. Cal was slowing down at shortstop as a 35-year-old would. And Davey wanted to look at a kid named Manny Alexander. And I believe the front office did as well. Manny Alexander was a gifted fielder, at least, from the Dominican Republic, a young guy at that point. And while Cal was slowing down at shortstop, Davey also wanted to reduce his grip on the team as a whole, Cal's grip. Cal, under the previous manager, Phil Regan, had changed cutoffs and relays in spring training. Regan tried to do one thing. Cal wanted to do another. Cal would call pitches from shortstop. He was an incredibly influential player for good reason. He was also the smartest player on the field, but in some opinions with the Orioles, some people with the Orioles, they thought maybe he was going too far. So Davey wanted to cut him down. That was part of this. Well, the Manny Alexander experiment didn't work. It lasted only 6 games, but the issue persisted. Cal moved back to shortstop for the rest of 96. And then at the end of 96, in the American League Championship Series against the Yankees, the late Joe Morgan, calling the games, I believe it was for NBC, kind of took exception with the way Cal was playing. He pointed out one play in particular that Cal should have made. He didn't make. And I remember at the end of that series, I called Cal and I wanted to discuss that with him. And he explained that one of the plays, I believe the play that Morgan highlighted most, there was this really fast kid, a right-handed hitter who had just entered the league. And hey, his speed was the reason that Cal didn't make the play. That kid was Derek Jeter. Anyway, end of that season, the Orioles signed Mike Bordick. And Mike Bordick, of course, was a really good defensive shortstop. He was not Manny Alexander. He was an established player. And at that point, Cal could accept what was going on. He could understand that he had to move to third base. And he did. And he played a really good third base for the rest of his career. But I'll always remember that. I always remember Davey kind of tweaking Cal and kind of showing who was boss, for lack of a better term. I don't know that Cal took too kindly to it. He certainly didn't take too kindly to being taken off short for Manny Alexander because, again, Manny Alexander was not an established player. So to sum it up, I sort of had to laugh because while Saturday was an incredibly sad day, we lost Davey. It almost seemed to me that on the 30th anniversary of the celebration of Cal's streak, the record-breaking night when he broke Lou Gehrig's record, that was the day Davey passed. And it almost seemed like one of these things in life that happens. He was tweaking Cal one more time. Hey, man, it's your day, but, here we go. Anyway, it was just a thought that came to my mind, not necessarily appropriate. But I want to wish Davey's family, his wife Susan, everyone else in his family, all the best. We're thinking of Davey. He was a legend. He was a blast to cover. He was one of the influential figures in the game. He had a tremendous career as a player and a manager. Davey Johnson, rest in peace.
We spend a lot of time on the road. We are often concerned about our online security when you're logging in from all over the globe, really. So you should maybe look into a VPN. What does that stand for, Kratz?
Virtual private network.
Boom, nailed it. And that virtual private network that you should look into is called Surfshark. It is time to take control of your online security and try Surfshark today. You can enjoy their 30-day money-back guarantee and secure your digital world right now by visiting the link that we'll post there for you and start surfing securely. Surfshark.com/foul or the code foul at checkout will get you 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN, aka Virtual Private Network. It's a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Surfshark's unique VPN benefits include use on unlimited devices in 100 countries and 24/7 support at surfshark.com/FOUL. This has been your tech update. Keep your data safe.
BetMGM is giving you the chance to win a prize every day during the baseball season. Step into the batter's box for BetMGM's Swing for the Fences free-to-play game. Visit the BetMGM app to access the game, and you'll score a prize if you hit a single, double, triple, or home run. Strikeout? No problem. Try again tomorrow. Gambling problem or concern? There is help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Time now for Grillin Ken, the part of the show where I answer your questions. Let's get right to them. Time is a-wasting. All right, the first one comes from Alex Guanche, who asks, favorites to reach the World Series. Now, as you guys know, if you follow me at all, my picks are always terrible. They're really terrible at the start of the season because it never turns out the way we think. I had the Rangers and the Braves. How'd that work out for me? If I had to pick right now, who would I pick? I would say Phillies and Blue Jays. And I don't want to discount the Brewers because I do believe the Brewers have a shot. And I'm worried about the Blue Jays bullpen, obviously, but the American League is a total free-for-all. I have no idea what's going to happen. The Tigers, I can see them winning too, but I'll go Phillies and Blue Jays right now. Rematch of, what was that, 1993. All right, next question. Let's see what we got here. This one comes from Foul Territory, who asks, or which asks, has Hunter Brown made the AL Cy Young a two-horse race? I don't know that I would go that far just yet, but Skubal leads the league in ERA, 2.10. Hunter Brown is next at 2.25, and then you've got Crochet at 2.67. Skubal, to me, is the runaway winner here. He not only leads in ERA, which is just one metric. It's not the sole measure here. He also leads in strikeout rate, strikeout to walk rate, whip, pretty much everything that you would want your guy to lead in. Now, Hunter Brown is interesting because Hunter Brown has had a season that has not gotten as much attention as Garrett Crochet's, but he has been really, really good. Outside of 3 starts in July when he dipped a little bit, he's been outstanding. And as I said, second in the league in ERA right now. He's going to finish in the top 3, and if he finishes in the top 3, at least the way it appears right now, he will finish in the top 3. Then the Astros get a pick because of the Prospect Promotion Incentive Program, a pick after the first round. So this has a lot of meaning to the Astros. Crochet has been outstanding all year as well. I can see him finishing second and Brown third, or depending upon how the final few weeks go, the other way around. One way or the other, it seems to me that's your top 3 for the American League Cy Young. All right, next question. What do we have here? This comes from Armand, who asks, Ken, did you watch Mets rookie starting pitcher Brandon Sproat's debut yesterday, and what did you think? I did watch a little bit of that, and I was impressed. All I had heard about from reading about the Mets the last few weeks was that Jonah Tong and Nolan McLean had kind of passed Sproat as a prospect, or had better years at least. I don't know that they passed him. And watching Sproat yesterday, he looked really good. Stuff was good. Stuff was down. And I know at the start of this outing, it was really good. And then he allowed 3 straight hits after retiring, I believe, the first 19, something along those lines. He looked good. Now, I touch on the Mets in my column today. 3 rookie starters in the postseason. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but the possibility would certainly appear to exist. It's happened only a couple of times. It would seem to me to be a stretch. They need to get Peterson going again, and I don't know that you can start 3 rookies, but my goodness, McLean is extremely talented. He is a guy that has presence. His stuff is crazy. To me, he looks like the real deal. Tong is a kid. He's got some growing to do, obviously, but extremely talented as well. And then Sproat joining that group. And listen, for the future, it looks great. And it might even be that the present is going to require those three guys as well. All right, let's see what we have. If anything else, I don't believe we do have anything else. All right, we're going to close it out then. Close out this version of our show. This is the Monday version of Foul Territory or Fair Territory. We will be back Thursday, as we always are, the live show of Fair Territory. Myself with my co-host, Alana Rizzo. Have a great week, everyone. And I hope your favorite team doesn't drive you too nuts.